Super. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and move on to our first timed item, which is a commendation of Larry Sevison. Sevison. I said that wrong. I should have had it right. So I'm going to pass this over to Supervisor Gustafson because she knows him well, and you may go ahead and take it away, Cindy.
Thanks, Chair Gore. And others up here have known Larry longer because they're older. No, maybe they're not. But I can't begin to express all the things to say about Larry. We have a commendation here that I'm going to read officially and present to you, Larry, but I know we have many, many remarks to make as well. So I'm going to read it first, and then we'll make our remarks. So, County of Placer commendation in the matter of a commendation recognizing Larry Sevison for his continued contribution to Placer County communities. Whereas Larry Sevison moved to the Lake Tahoe area in the late 1950s after serving in the U.S. Army for 2 years and attending UC Davis, following his parents who relocated to Tahoe from Marysville after the floods of 1955. And whereas during his more than 60 years living in Tahoe, Larry has been a pillar of the community, serving on local and state agency boards and commissions that have shaped the growth and prosperity of the Lake Tahoe area and Placer County as a whole. Larry served on the North Tahoe Public Utility District Board of Directors, as well as the California Tahoe Conservancy Board for more than 30 years, and represented Placer County on the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency Governing Board for more than 25 years. And whereas Larry has also served the citizens of Placer County for nearly 50 years, sitting on the Placer County Planning Commission since the early 1970s, and representing District 5 on the Placer County Board of Supervisors from 1981 to 1984. And whereas Larry has also made immeasurable contributions to the Lake Tahoe community and hundreds of individuals and their families as one of 2 founding members of Tahoe Nordic Search and Rescue, a group that was formed after a personal tragedy brought to light the need for an organized backcountry search and rescue team. Since its inception, the group has rescued hundreds of stranded people and provided education and training on backcountry safety to children and adults. And whereas Larry is revered for his ability to find a compromise between all parties in any situation, and respected for his ability to navigate tense discussions with knowledge, strength, warmth, and levity. Now, therefore, let it be known that the above commendation was duly passed by the Board of Supervisors of the County of Placer on behalf of the citizens of Placer County at a regular meeting held October 27th, 2020, recognizing Larry Sevison for his many contributions to the Lake Tahoe community and Placer County. So that's the commendation. We have to pass it, so I...
We have a motion and a second, so all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion carries.
Thank you. But we also need to make some other remarks. And I'll start out, but I know my colleagues have a lot to say, and there's probably some people from the public who want to make some.
I think he needs to be up here and take this like a man.
Yeah.
Okay, come up to the podium, Mr. Sevison.
And it's nice to see that his family is here with him. That's
Yes.
terrific.
Thanks, Larry, for being here today, and thanks to the family for being
I don't know,
here.
I can see why you don't wear your mask. They're miserable.
So, Larry, just on behalf of our whole community, you've been a mentor to me for many, many years, a friend, but more importantly, you've been a leader in this community. I'm going to get choked up. You've navigated some really treacherous waters, and taking us through 25 years on TRPA, as all of you know, has been just unbelievable. And the way you passed it on to me, I can only hope to represent Placer County as well as you did on that governing board. So thank you. But I want to turn it over to my colleagues who have known and worked with you many years as well.
Supervisor Wygant, and then Supervisor Holmes.
So start off, Larry, I'll promise not to tell some of the stories about you if you promise to do the same with me. But Larry and I, we knew each other by way of Alex for my predecessor on the Board of Supervisors, but I think got to know each other really well when we served on the Planning Commission going back to 1990. And prior to that, one of the stories I do want to share is Alex had asked me to serve on the Planning Commission, and I actually told him I couldn't do it. It's too busy in my life. And so Larry calls me one night, and he's about halfway through this conversation about how, well, you know, Robert, you can do it. We'll have a lot of fun. There's some really important things going on. And then he breaks down, and he starts laughing, and he says, I can't go on. Alex put me up to this. I'm lying. And the funny thing is, if you hadn't done that, I probably wouldn't have served on the Planning Commission. And if I hadn't served on the Planning Commission, none of us would be experiencing what we're doing now. So Larry, just things that aren't in that commendation are that just a great entrepreneur. Larry came up to Lake Tahoe in the 50s and started up a couple of businesses, extraordinarily successful with that, always very engaged in the community. He has tremendous skills over the years with the contacts that he's made, being able to find resolutions, including state people and resources, and bringing that back to a local level. That there are several examples on the ground. Great service on the Tahoe Conservancy, getting that up and running, working with Dennis to get some good projects started so that people could see what could be accomplished, and then taking that forward as we went on. It's true, Larry is amazing at constantly looking for solutions, always listening to all sides, to the extent that sometimes it would frustrate me because some of these people I thought were saying some things that were so stupid that somebody finally needed to say, but Larry would keep at it, keep trying to find a solution, except for one time at a planning commission where he actually got angry and insulted somebody in public, and I don't know if you remember.
Thought it was my wife.
No, the comment was, one of our commissioners' husband made some comments in public, and Larry made the statement that, Judy, your husband is a jerk, with the microphone on. But more than that, the best part for me is that Larry's been a great friend. We've had opportunities to go up to the Klamath River where they have a place and spend hours fishing and solving all the world's problems, oftentimes with an adult beverage. We've done the same thing up in Alaska on occasions. I could never get Larry to go for a cigar. He always complained about me smoking them, but we just had some great times, and I can attest to the fact that just one of the most quality people in the world, and everybody's great to have had your exposure and the impact and the efforts of your work. So I want to thank you publicly, Larry, for all of that.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you,
And
Robert.
Supervisor Holmes?
Yeah, I don't know about your exposure. When I got elected back in the last decade, and one of the first things I needed to do in Tahoe was come and see you. And I've known you, and we've known each other briefly throughout those years, but you were the sounding board. If I needed to know something about what was going on up here, I always relied on you, and it was a great relationship, and you were very open and very friendly, and I know you're still going to be active, and I look forward to catching up with you in the near future. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, Supervisor Holmes. Supervisor Yoler?
Larry, I was prepared to say nice things about you, but I just learned that you're the reason I've been stuck with Wygant all these years. So I'm going to have to take back all the nice things I would have said about you. Actually, you probably don't know this, but you were actually at the epicenter of the single biggest political misstep I made in 28 years in public life. When in 1994, then Assemblyman David Knowles came to me and said he was concerned about Placer County's representation on TRPA. At the time, the supervisor from District 5 was not somebody that our board was comfortable having on TRPA, so we had Larry on TRPA. And the assemblyman came to me and said that he didn't think that our representative was strong enough on certain issues and how I should get myself appointed to TRPA. And so, being a little young and naive, I did that. And I will never forget the sit-down meeting that I had with Joanne Neft and Janice Forbes after removing Larry from TRPA. They sat me down and gave me what for. And it actually cost me an awful lot of support when I subsequently ran for that legislative seat in 96. It caused quite a rift. And after I served my first meeting on TRPA, Larry was kind enough to sit down with me and walk me through all of the issues, even though I had removed him and placed him as the alternate. He was kind enough to sit down, walk me through what the issues were, who the personalities were, all the things that I should have known before I was stupid enough to try to insert myself into it in the first place. But he was incredibly gracious and understood the naivete of a young, ambitious Euler back then, and was willing to work with me just long enough for me to say after about a year, that's enough of this, Larry, it's yours again. And I got my butt off of there and I handed it back to you, and it was in solid hands from that point on. So your graciousness, even in the face of a wild-eyed, ambitious youth, is something that has always stuck with me. And you see it in everything that you do, the way that you are just so open to people and engaging. And if you can live a life like you've lived in a place like Tahoe and not have enemies, that really says something about you as a person. Because as a community, there are very few communities where, as I've told people, you could stand on the street corner in Tahoe City and hand out $100 bills, and half the community is going to be against you. And you've managed to create an incredible life for yourself up here and just be surrounded by friends. And so I want to thank you for not only the work that you've done on behalf of Placer County, but just the way that you've lived an exemplary life up here in this area.
Thank you, Supervisor Euler. You have the floor, sir.
Well, and I do want to, before Larry talks, I know there's others that might want to say a few words about Larry. Do you want to hear that first, or would you like to speak first? It's at your discretion.
I want to hear all the bad ones first.
Okay.
Let's go back to Wygan.
Yeah, I can't, all the fish you've taken out of that river, you must feel terribly guilty. I don't know.
Not one bit.
Well, I'm very flattered that the board has given me this honor, and through the years allowed me to come and go, and then come and go again, and come and go again. And I can remember one day, I think we were having lunch at the old coffee shop in Carnegie Bay, and the phone rang, and it was the county executive, and they said, the board's meeting and they're talking about you. And I said, well, why are they talking about me? Well, they're thinking they'd like to have you go back and serve on TRPA again. And I said, oh, wait a minute. And I thought about it. I said, well, I'll try it until they sort out who they really want, and it lasted for quite a while. But at any rate, I appreciate your kindness, kind words, and I can't say I haven't enjoyed it. I did. We all do. I think once you get started on this work, you become a prostitute to it, and I think that it's pretty easy to get so involved that I know I had friends served on that board with me that suffered personal sacrifices as I think back, for the sake of being able to serve on that board, and it's a very high honor. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we please give him a hand? And I know that we've got others who might want to make a comment. Thank you, Larry.
I think there'll be a few more comments, and then we had one more announcement, so.
So feel free to have a seat, and if there's anybody else who would like to come up and make a comment, you are welcome to do so. And feel free to line up 6 feet apart.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Peter Kratz, Placer County Public Works Department. I'm here in large part because of Larry. He was definitely a big force. I joined the county in 2002, in large part because at that time we were getting a hold of a lot of conservancy funding. And I think, I'm not sure if Larry was on the board then, but he was very instrumental in getting Placer County on the map on the east side to really do some of the things that Supervisor Wygant mentioned, working with Dennis Jagoda back then to do erosion control projects where we didn't have much of a public works presence in the before 2002 when I joined, and I don't take full credit for it. I really looked to Larry and other folks at that time and the Board of Supervisors and other people really pushing the county to do great things on the east side, and before we didn't do that. And so I've had a great relationship with Larry over the years. I look to him as a mentor, as some of you have mentioned as well. Kind of like a dad to me. I lost my dad when he was 50 years old. So every time I bump into Larry, he gives me that positive nudge to hang in there, because as you know, getting projects done, and that's what I still do, is try to deliver capital projects for Placer County up and down the hill, but particularly in eastern Placer. Larry would bump into me and say, "Hang in there, Peter. I've been here doing this a lot longer than you, so don't put your head down. Keep your head up," to help me get those projects to the finish line. As you all know, there's a lot of layers to get any sort of project done, if it's up here or even down the hill. So thank you so much, Larry. And one of the latest projects we did with conservancy funding was the Dollar Creek Trail that many of you went to the ribbon cutting. And it's funny because when we planned that project, a lot of people in the community said, "Well, no one will ever use that trail. It'll be a couple people on it." Well, that is so much far from the truth today. As we know, it gets hundreds of people on that trail every day. And again, conservancy funding and Larry's influence on trails like that. And I know he's going to stick around and make sure that we get the rest of the North Tahoe Trail done from there over here to Kings Beach. And that's one of my initiatives to keep that moving forward. So thanks again, Larry, for all your support over the years. Really appreciate it. Yep.
Thank you, Peter.
Good morning, board. Gary Davis. Larry, I think we met about 30 years ago when I first came to Tahoe as a civil engineer. And I got to say, you're one of the most respected people I know in Tahoe. And all the various hats you've worn for so many years, so much good has come out of it, not only for this community, but for a wider spread than that. And I can't tell you how much we appreciate your openness, your willingness to listen, and your fairness in your decision making. It's been awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Gary. Anyone else?
So Larry, I've probably known you the shortest amount of time of anybody who's spoken, but when I first came to Tahoe and started working on the Tahoe City Lodge project, one of my early relationships was with Cindy, and she sort of walked me through various different things that I was going to need to do in order to be successful. But the number one thing she said I needed to do was get to know Larry. Larry at the time was on the TRPA board, but there were so many other things and so many relationships that he had and what he understood. And Larry's been a great supporter of mine since day one, which I appreciate. But the other thing that I think is really important is civic life is about showing up and engaging in things on behalf of your community. And to hear you talk about the passion with which you do that, it comes through every day. And you are always there, you're always showing up. Sometimes it's for items that you have a direct interest in or that you're involved in, but a lot of times it's just because you want to show up and you want to be part of what's going on and be a positive influence in that. And so I thank you very much for the personal interactions we've had, but more importantly for all that you've done and you continue to do for the community. So thank you very much, Larry. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Samir. Anyone else here in the public? And I don't know, do we have any calls, Megan? We do have a couple of Zoom calls, so we'll go ahead and take those as well.
Ron, go ahead and unmute your mic and give your comments.
Ron, do you hear us? We're going to take your comments, I hope. And I think you're
Now
unmuted.
we're
There.
okay?
Yes, we are. Go ahead, Ron. Thank you.
Okay, hi. Ron Trebus here, longtime Tahoe resident. Nice to see all you guys still. Larry, I was going to hang up after hearing all the good things that had been said about you, but then when Kirk said he was going to point out what was his worst mistake, he had me on the edge of my chair trying to figure out which one that would be. So I've hung on, and Larry, I want to make sure that you know what all of us in the community have felt, as has said Gary, Samir, and others, for your efforts both on the extremely local level, the North Tahoe wide level, the county level, and beyond that. And some of the other things that have made you one of the outstanding people I've ever known and will ever be at North Lake Tahoe is your individual response to people in need, where you volunteered to help people, be it through midnight snow plowing or many other things that aren't showing up as government services. Your tenacity at some things, like when you lose a cell phone, how hard you work to find that cell phone. That's a good story, Larry, to share sometime. And also your ability to be kind to others, how you've let me whip you on the golf course, where otherwise you would have been right on top of me. But in the long run, you will continue to be just a great friend of mine and always be a person that I will point out as a great example for how someone is a community spirit and leader. Thanks for this, and thank you guys for voting and approving this highly contestable commendation for Larry Sevison.
Thanks, Ron.
All right, thank you. No other calls from Zoom. Sorry about that. All right. Well,
We had one other announcement.
one other announcement. Yes, you don't want to forget that. Go
I
ahead,
think-
Cindy.
Well, I wanted to say that, Larry, when we opened that North Tahoe Trail that you spent, 20, 30 years working on and making sure the Conservancy continued to dedicate resources and assets to studying that trail, we said that it should be named something. And so with the county's blessing, we have a couple slides to show you. COVID has gotten in the way of us actually, can you see that? So it will be called the Sevison Trail at Dollar Hill, and there will be a plaque placed on it.
That is
Well
wonderful.
deserved.
Yes. Or actually, yeah, y'all. Yes. Here. Will that work, Lindsay? Yes. Because I want all everyone in.
Yes, you do. No, we just want to picture the five of us hanging out.
Take yours off.
I feel a sneeze coming.
You look better with your mask on, Larry.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And we look forward to when you can go out and take a picture next to the plaque in person.
And Patsy, how could we forget to say a few words about you? I mean, you have dedicated so much time and patience to this community as well, and been the supporter and the advisor to Larry, and we are amiss for not having recognized you as well. So Patsy, to you. It takes a team, doesn't it?
Well, thank you, everyone. You know, often we have to do difficult things, but it is really nice to have the opportunity to honor people who have spent years and years dedicated to serving their community. So Larry, thank you for all that you've done, and you'll continue to do, because you were still on our planning commission, so you're not done yet. And of course, there are plenty of people who you need to continue to mentor in this area. So thank you, and I'm so pleased that your family was able to be here to join you. All right.